Hello, everyone, and welcome here to King Me Entertainment Presents Rev's Hype Podcast. Today we are not live in the Root Awakening Kava Bar for a change, but my own little makeshift studio here at home for various reasons. Today we are being blessed with the presence of one professional wrestler, Shawn, vegan, Keegan, baby. And of course, as always, I am your host, the Rev Dude. We are going to be talking about mental health through the lens of our guest. For all who do not seem to remember, have the nonprofit that is going to be helping men with their mental health. Mental health services are coming soon, but please make sure to reach out on the website or any other various social media platforms, or email me at thechildrenoftheallfather.com. I, the Rev Dude, will make sure to get you into whatever help you need. All right? So, now that that's out of the way, Shawn, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I am genuinely excited to have you here. I don't know if you remember, but the first time I was able to talk to you was actually in August in Nashua at a Chaotic show.
Ooh, July. It was late July.
Yeah, there you go. See, he remembers. And I ran up to you and Spike, and I was like, "Listen, I'm doing this. I'm trying to start this new podcast. Will you be in it?" And you were so generous to just listen to this random crazy person yelling at you in a gymnasium. So the fact that here we are a few months later and you're actually doing the show, honored, very honored, genuinely honored, sir.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, basically getting behind a noble cause, uh, mental health through the lens of not only men, not only vegans, not only professional wrestlers, you know, giving, to be here giving my own insight, experience, hopefully in assistance with words. What you got going on. Hopefully we spread some awareness.
Right. And I appreciate you saying that. That's genuinely what this podcast is about. Um, breaking the barriers, right? There are so many things that are taboo that you're not supposed to say out loud, and you're not supposed to think those things. But let's be honest, everybody has those thoughts, right? Everybody, it's some, whether it's been you specifically or someone you know, have had thoughts that, whether it's self-harm or depression, anxiety, whatever it is. And personally, being someone who has been around, and I say it as cautiously as possible. I was very fortunate to not fall into the habits of some of the people I grew up with, and I feel and I don't say it as a stick to them. It's literally just the idea that I do feel very fortunate that I was conscientiously aware enough to understand that
Hmm.
the things they were doing were not good for them. So if anything, they were the bad example I needed to stay away from those things,
That's
right?
exactly it.
And I don't shame them. I don't condemn them. I don't wish harm upon them. Like a lot of people would say, "Oh well, you you think you're so high and mighty and you're smarter than everybody." No, I have the exact same struggles that anybody else, right?
Hmm.
We told you earlier how, I mean, half the today I was just driving around in a car that was puttering, and I fortunately was lucky with a putt far enough to get to a Midas or a Meineke or whatever it was to get my car looked at. And I'm assuming they're calling me during this, but I have the same struggles, and I don't
Yeah.
pretend like I'm better than anybody else. I don't think that's a thing that exists, and we'll get into that, right?
Hmm.
I don't believe in that energy. So yeah, no, I like I said, I very much believe in the creating conscientious awareness of the human beings, regardless of gender, sex, or religion. and there's the struggles that they have, because it doesn't matter
Mm.
if you're a professional wrestler or some monkey who goes there every week and watches it. We're both human beings and we both struggle with things, right? Makes sense.
Oh yeah, we are all first and foremost mortal and therefore limited.
That's a good one. I like it. I might have to tag you in a picture later or something and put that there.
Hey,
Um,
not against it.
there you go. I had to do the same thing. I was very fortunate to go down to Philadelphia in September,
Hmm.
and I went to HOG Wrestling and saw Bully Ray lose his championship to Zilla Fatu in about 40 seconds. I'm sure there's somebody on the internet that's going to correct
Huh.
me and say, oh, it was 39 and a half, or it was 29 and a half, or whatever.
It was 41.8.
Yeah, 41.8. Oh my God, how
Yeah.
dare you? Okay,
Not
go
that I
ahead and
know, I
continue.
don't. Yeah.
So it was it was an amazing, crazy match, super chaotic. That's how they opened the show. And right after, during their intermission time, I got to actually have a genuine conversation with Zilla Fatu. And
Hmm.
he, I had seen a couple interviews with him, and he talked about the idea of, being with his family, right? Of course, he's part of the bloodline. You know, I acknowledge you, tribal chief. All right, so and he was talking. I asked him when he thought he might be ready, and he said that patience is not a patience is not a virtue. Patience is a strategy. So patience is not a virtue.
Hmm.
Strategy. I thought that was genius. So just as I tagged him in his picture with me and made sure to label it with his, I'm probably going to steal yours and do the same thing tomorrow or something.
It's
But
like he's Aaron Burr in Hamilton. I'm not standing still, I'm lying in wait.
there you go. Yeah,
That's so funny. That's so good.
it is genius, genius. Um, so to start from the beginning, and I actually have never asked you this one. What inspired you to step into the wrestling ring?
I feel like this must be a pretty common answer, but I watched it as a child. I watched it as a child and later as an adult, and it was something that frankly gave me an escape, not an estate, an escape, from some otherwise not so great times, some stressful times, some downright dark times, but otherwise, I just thought it was really fun. I just thought it was really cool. I was attracted to the and larger than life gets thrown around a lot. So let's say bombastic personalities, let's say outlandish occurrences, all taking place within the realms of a sport, um, where you're watching professional fighters get into a match where there's Viagra on a pole, or get into a match where there's, the objective of setting your opponent on fire. It it was crazy to me, crazy enough for me to want to learn more about it. Just be like, well, why is this the way it is? And why is business conducted like this? And why, why? Um, Man, the more I peeled back, the more I wanted to know, not just about the stories themselves and about the people behind the characters, but behind the culture. I was just hooked. I watched and read and listened so many articles and podcasts and interviews and stories and what have you
So it's
that
just
I just became enamored with the idea of like this is this is a downright fun sphere, a fun medium, a fun world. This seems like it could, if I play my cards right, provide a good avenue in which to make a living doing something that ideally doesn't make me want to tear my hair out. The key thing with me was when I decided, oh, this is what I'm doing, I thought to myself, okay, well, and this is, mental health tinged. Uh, if I'm going to stick around, as in on this mortal plane, this was in college, I believe, would be sometime in my sophomore year, where I would occasionally get existential crises. If I'm going to stick around on this mortal plane, I'm going to do it for me, and I'm going to do something I care deeply about. Uh,
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. You know, with that, I'm curious. Was there a like any aha moment where, like, maybe you saw a match or you went to an event and you went from in your mind a wrestling fan to this is it. This is what I want to do.
I'm thinking about some key moments in my first full calendar year of fandom, which was 2008. That was 2008. I had probably been to a handful of, let's say, local wrestling shows at the time, uh, for a couple years at that point, maybe 2, 3 years. But when I started watching regularly and when I knew I needed to tune in the next week to find out what happened, was when I saw Jeff Hardy do the Swanton Bomb onto Randy Orton off the Raw set, off the Titantron. That's what led me to believe I needed to tune in. Going back and watching WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, was the first time I became just so enamored and emotionally compelled by a wrestling match to where I was like, I need to keep watching this like forever. And I don't know if I can pin down, honestly, the moment where I was like, ah, yes, this is something I could do. This is something I will do. This is something I shall do. I don't think a singular moment like that exists necessarily. But it was actually something myself and my cousin, who's around the same age, just a couple months younger, we kind of imagined getting involved in pro wrestling, being a tag team, being tag team champions, or even just, let's say, however things shook out, being some kind of pairing, a manager and wrestler. One reason or another that didn't end up working out, but it was something I stuck with. There were moments over the years where we would go to live shows, and for whatever reason, through the lens which we were watching with, we began to think to ourselves, oh, this is something real people do, and we are real people. We can do this.
Incredible.
There are any number of those moments.
I'm curious now. Did your cousin ever do anything?
He wound up training for a brief time before deciding it wasn't for him necessarily.
Gotcha.
Even if it doesn't shake out to be, like I say before, something you wind up making a living doing. Full disclosure, it's not something I'm making a living doing yet. Uh, Even if it doesn't shake out that way, I think I would still like to see him, if nothing else, for some sense of fulfillment, train for a time, get to a point where you could have a match on a show, and go from there. Um, One thing I'm coming to terms to lately, and it can be a tough pill to swallow, is like in times of relative financial insecurity, especially, it's occurred to me that if this doesn't shake out the way I want it to, I'm probably going to need a backup plan that I haven't ironed out just yet. Um, this is somewhat of an aside of what I was originally driving at, but like kind of like um, I discussed at the very end of Rainbow Rumble earlier. Uh, Take care of yourself first and foremost. For all kinds of reasons, pro wrestling can be punishing and it can be discouraging and it can be pretty brutal, pretty unfair, dare I say. Uh, and so I think it's important not to get too down on yourself when, for one reason or another, and this is not to absolve yourself of personal responsibility, when for one reason or another you just don't attain the heights at the end of the day that you figured you might at one point. I'm coming to terms lately with this might not be what you thought it was, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
Because there are all kinds of roles that need to be fulfilled in pro wrestling. Um,
Yeah.
if
I
everybody's
mean,
a main eventer or something, nobody's a main eventer.
that's true. I mean, I always go back to when it comes to, I mean, even just underrated wrestlers of all time. You know,
Hmm.
JJ and I went to AEW the other night, and I had to explain her how Shelton Benjamin's never had the world championship. And she was flabbergasted. She was like, "What do you mean? This guy's like, this guy? This guy's never had the title?" And I'm like, "No." And
Incredible.
then he's an incredible athlete. Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal is one of my all-time favorites, right? All-time favorites. He's never really like someone like, oh, well, he did a dark match here or dark match there. It's like, yeah, but I've never seen him at a WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah, he's been Ring of Honor world champion.
yeah, Ring of Honor World Champion,
But
100%.
yeah,
But I've never
I
seen him
would
at
have
a
liked to see
WrestleMania.
him. I would have liked to see him in his heyday in TNA, at least get the TNA World Heavyweight title.
Yes,
Man,
that's what. See, and that's what my. So I was in the military. I'm a veteran, right? My drill sergeants always told me that perception is reality, right? And I say this all the time: perception is reality. It doesn't matter if you think the world should be one way. The world is just the world, and it's never going to really change necessarily just for your particular reasons. Right? As much as we'd
yeah,
like to just snap our
necessarily.
fingers and snap our fingers and make it change overnight, it's not going to work. It doesn't work like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, but doesn't mean you can't change things. It just means it takes time. It takes patience and it takes a resilience. Quite talking about resilience. You said the name a couple times, so I have to bring it up, right? Shawn Michaels. I have to say it. Shawn Michaels, right?
Mhm.
Is he one of those guys that inspired you early on?
He is one of those guys that inspired me early on, in particular because, as I mentioned, he was involved in WrestleMania 24 with Ric Flair's retirement match. For all we
It
knew, it was his retirement match, and
was a
that was
wonderful match.
what that's the only reason that I, as an 11-year-old, knew that Ric Flair was a big deal. Like, that was my window into, well, maybe old wrestling was kind of cool. Um, but yes, to answer, Shawn Michaels, yes, very much involved with making me a young ardent fan, especially going back and watching. Oh wow, he wrestled in like the late '80s and '90s. He looks so different. Oh, what? He retired? He retired from a back injury that he was wrestling through to make his obligations to at the very least drop the title at WrestleMania before he called it a career. Um, of all the titles, especially in hindsight, of all the titles uh, he would vacate previously due to all kinds of circumstances, that was pretty surreal that he managed to even do that through like a fractured disc or whatever the exact nature of the injury was. If that's
Right,
going to retire you, it's like, man, working through that, that's a credit to you, first of all. It's a credit to him to have persisted and to come out the other side looking better of addiction, painkiller addiction in particular, and to come back and just to have the run he had between 2002 and 2010. Like, what can you say? Who's got a body of work quite like his in such distinct eras? Like, as much as people romanticize and glorify the Attitude Era, arguably the greatest of all time, Shawn Michaels, was only there in a commissioner role. He missed the Attitude Era. He had to settle for being the highlight of the new generation and of ruthless aggression,
right.
which
No,
which which people I would say underrate in some ways compared to the Attitude Era, but he's still considered in many circles the greatest of all time. I too would put him at number one. If anything, Eddie Guerrero, also like I mentioned on Rainbow Rumble, he's probably second only to Shawn, maybe the 1B to his 1A. And again, depending on the day, I might tell you Eddie, I might tell you
Right.
Shawn.
I
Uh,
mean,
I
it's
might tell you
valid.
Kurt Angle, like,
Peak
you
angle,
know.
though. I don't use the other term, peak angle. He asked respectfully to his fans to use peak angle. But there
Mhm.
was, I mean, the fact that he had all the titles. It's there are the and the funny thing is that a similar thing come up in the last episode with Gunnar Moody. Actually, Gunnar Moody was
Yeah.
was our last one, and it, it's kind of hard to dispute how incredible Kurt Angle is as a human being. The things that he's overcome, not only just physically in order to do what he did in and outside of the ring, but the addictions and other
Hmm.
things that he had to go through. So,
And
like,
same
so
with
for
Eddie.
me, no, go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, yeah, same with Eddie. Same with
Yeah,
Shawn,
Eddie.
Eddie, and Kurt. All addicts. All addicts who had recovered.
Right, and so Shawn for me. So I'm 40 years old, right,
Hmm.
and I'm very fortunate. I feel I was pretty much born a wrestling fan. So I
Hmm.
remember being anywhere as to 4 years old watching either WWF pay-per-views at like my mother's side of the family, or WCW pay-per-views at my WCW pay-per-views at my dad's side of the family. So
Oh,
I got to
oh,
see like hog. I would go and see all the In Your House with my uncle Bobby. Right,
uh-huh.
we're talking between um, all the, I should say, pay-per-views in general. So he's like, oh, he's got the wrong dates. I saw all the WWF pay-per-views at my uncle's house between 90 and 95 on my
Hmm.
mother's side, and a good steady handful of them live for WCW on the other side. And it was incredible.
Oh,
And
man.
myself, I feel very fortunate. So shout out to my
Yeah.
Anthony Tarkington. So I had a best friend who lived next door, and he got a TV in 1996 that had picture in a picture. So we would go to his house on
Mm-hmm.
Monday nights, and we would have Raw and or Nitro on at the same time because he had picture in a picture.
Mm.
But one of them was always this big, and it was somebody's job to stand right in front of the TV and be like, "What's going on? Tell me what's up. Is
Yeah.
it should we
Yeah.
switch? Should we switch?" I'd be like, "Switch, switch, switch."
Yeah.
And
I'm watching Hogan and
so
Nash. What's going on with McFoley?
who's up there? It's just Gilbert. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Just
it's
keep
just
going.
Gilbert.
Right?
Yeah.
Just Gilbert. No big deal. Um,
Yeah, we've got the actual Goldberg on the other channel.
yeah, exactly. It's just Gilbert. Goldberg's on the channel. Don't worry about it. So I feel very fortunate when I talk to wrestlers, especially because a lot of them are so much younger than me. Like, oh man, you only saw that in highlights. Like, I remember actually being in my uncle's house eating popcorn, going, "How are they
Mm.
having a wrestling match on an 18-wheeler on the back of a flatbed truck going down the highway?" Like, I was like
I
six
I
or
guess
something.
I guess the answer is they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't have. They
Like,
definitely should. No shade to you, Dusty
yeah,
Rhodes. We love you. We love you, baby. But I was just
mm,
like, what is this, man? Like, my brain could
yeah,
not reconcile it at 6. At 40, I'm still like, this is crazy. But I just remember sitting there with my uncle Randy, and you just, dudes slamming each other in the back of a 18-wheeler, and just like, is this normal?
mm,
Do like people do this? Like, is
yeah,
this a movie? Like, I thought we were gonna watch wrestling in a ring. We're watching wrestling in a back of a moving vehicle. Like, I don't understand.
yeah, man. Yeah, again, that's one of those things that makes you wonder, just, huh, like how did it come to this though?
Right.
Yeah.
See, for me, so like inspirational wise, my son's name is Shawn Austin. So I named him after Shawn
Mm,
Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And to say it quickly, right? Shawn Michaels was my guy when I was like 5. Because the Rockers were just so much smaller than everybody else. And I have several siblings, right? My mom had 7 kids, right? Um, And so I was like the middle child, but somehow the smallest of the brunt of the litter. You know, it's like, so
violated.
I always looked up to Shawn Michaels because he's always with, like, let's say Diesel, right? If we're
Yeah,
sticking with
yeah.
Diesel, so he's the little guy and he's getting his face kicked in, but somehow he still became the champion, and that was
hmm
inspiration to
hmm
me, right? Just like, look at this guy. And then in my teenage years, Stone Cold Steve Austin shows up. And he's like, F authority, don't trust anyone, drink a beer. And I'm like, this is where it's at. F the
hmm
boss. You know what I mean? It's like, this guy is brilliant, genius. I shaved my head in like seventh grade, right?
Yeah.
Literally, I shaved my head in seventh grade and I was bald. And it's funny because I did JROTC in high school and everybody else had to get a haircut and I was ready to go first day.
Yeah.
Why I say that is there we talked about Eddie, we talked about Kurt, we talked about Shawn. Did their struggles inspire you?
Yes. Especially. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I had those bad examples. I said
hmm
with the neighborhood kids. With all due respect to all of them, when it came to start time to get into the ring, seeing Shawn struggles. I mean, you had to see Jeff Hardy, right?
hmm Oh, yeah. He was a big one for me as a kid too.
And he's so good. And he's so good. My brain has always gone back to the idea, and this is just logistical, right? So I have that analytical mind, so I'm always like, they should have just strapped some of these people into Japan has these sleeping buses where you can just get like 20 people into a bus and they can lay down and sleep in it. And I'm always thinking,
Oh,
when the WWE or AEW or whoever has those like problem kids, we should be giving them sleeping buses. Okay, I should be like, hey, listen, you and 10 of your friends are going to get on this bus. You're not driving anymore. We're going to keep an eye
uh,
on you. Like, with all due respect, we love you, man, but we don't need any more of those, TNA highlights where Sting has to wrestle himself for a belt.
good
It's not
God. Yeah.
it's not good. And of course, Jeff Hardy, love you, man. He's come out. He's apologized profusely to the
Mhm.
fans, to Sting, to TNA, to everybody under the sun. And I throw no shade at him whatsoever. The man
Mhm.
struggled through hard times, but I'm assuming that at least made sure in your mind to keep away from certain things in the universe.
Yeah, yeah. I would say to answer from before as well. Yeah, I would say Eddie and Kurt and Shawn, as well as now that you mention it, Jeff, overcoming their struggles, overcoming their demons, as they're often called in wrestling for some reason. Like it feels like everybody calls them demons in wrestling, but anywho, uh, that was quite an inspiration to me. Not only as I was growing up and as I was growing to love pro wrestling in the first place, but as I would somewhat go through them myself in college, as I mentioned earlier, it would be somewhat of a dark time. Uh, it's not like I ever got into anything particularly hard, let's say. But brother, in college, between my junior and senior years, I would say, freshman year I was a bit more well behaved. I would like drink and smoke myself stupid all the time for whatever reason, and partly maybe it was a matter of the crowd I soon found myself around or chose to be around, and I was not necessarily in a position where I had the wherewithal to be like, ah, that's bad. I'm not going to do it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it that way. Uh, that was something that really threw me for a loop for a time, and probably got in the way briefly, I would say, of really taking the initiative to change my life for the better in the first place, but then also to get serious after I had graduated, like, okay, yes, this is the course of action we're going to take. We're going to be a wrestler now. We're going to work toward.
So you did end up graduating. What do you have a degree in, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yeah, this is something a lot of people don't necessarily know about me because I don't talk about it a whole lot necessarily, but I have a bachelor's degree in psychology.
Interesting. You know, it's funny how many people in the wrestling industry. I mean, I know that statistically speaking, they say like 70% of people get a degree and they never end up using it. But
It's got to be something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's always the argument. At least that's what I've seen online. It's about 70%. A lot of people that work with me at my main job, they have degrees in psychology and all kinds of different random things, and they're in
Mm.
customer service. So, um,
Yeah. The way we were socialized and brought up in an environment that was very college or nothing, is it any wonder?
right, right. I I'm not sure if you ever read Mick Foley's books, um, but I
I literally
remember.
have it in the corner over there. I haven't read it yet. I got it at a secondhand store.
All right. Spoiler alert here. It's not. It's nothing. I mean, obviously, it's nothing too major. But he talks about going to college for like accounting, and that was like basically his fallback plan. He was like, if wrestling doesn't work out, I'm gonna be an accountant. And he has this whole um, beautifully well put together thought process about making sure to finish college, even though he really hopes he never has to be an accountant, right? And um, it was absolutely. I don't want to spoil too much of the books for everybody, but I would definitely say to go ahead and read them for sure.
Mm.
Um, so and so you went to the New Japan dojo. You trained at the New Japan dojo. Is that correct?
Yes, for about 2.5 months in what was it? Between late July and mid-October of 2023, myself and Seabass, we drove actually. I don't know if we tell everybody necessarily, but we drove to Inglewood, California, where we would be staying at essentially a long-term Airbnb for the duration of those 2.5 months. We trained in the advanced class at what they're calling NJPW Academy, the LA dojo in Carson, California. Twice a week, I believe it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, under Kushida and Fred Rosser, the former Darren Young. Um, Two very, very, very insightful, talented, nurturing, and just brilliant individuals, I would say. Um, just an experience that brought things out of me I didn't necessarily know I had in my toolkit. Um, an experience that took balls, frankly, and an experience that took grit, an experience that took a mentality of leap then look in a way. But that is
Yeah, I mean,
correct to cap off that long-winded answer.
yeah, so those 2 months, man, those what did that look like? You said you're only in class for 2 days. Were you doing like odds and ends job around California to get by? Were
I
you
was doing retail in California. Yeah, frankly, I was doing retail in California. So we would be able to pay for the place we were staying in. I think Seabass was doing DoorDash as and when he could. Other than that, we were making it out to show pretty much every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, showing face, networking, seeing as and where we could help to pay our due, as it's
course?
known, um, and getting a taste of the California Indies in our own right, wrestling in a few places out there ourselves. And otherwise, we were hitting the gym quite.
So you and Seabass Finn are the gym bros. I love it. Does
Yep, we
that
were gym bro.
does the
Oh, go.
academy does that open you up to the idea of being able to go over to Japan and work in some of the scene over there? I know Spike is over there right now, or she's on the way back, I think. But would that
Spike's
be a
over there now. I
possibility?
think she's on her way back next week. I
Got it.
think. Um, Frankly, yeah. It opened my mind up to, oh no, this is possible. And in fact, I was actually supposed to work in Tokyo last year, it wasn't going to be for New Japan or a New Japan affiliate necessarily. It was going to be for Kaiju Big Battle. Uh, Kaiju Big Battle is a promotion I've worked for before. For the uninitiated, it is basically monsters. You're wrestlers in giant mascot suits pretending to be monsters. Burger Bear. There's Valfor, who's like an anthropomorphic rhinoceros.
Right.
There's a copyright friendly Power Ranger. Uh, it's very, very outlandish, very, very fun. The canvas is laid out like you would see those carpets with the layout of a city. Uh, a lot of us probably would have seen those when we were little, but there's a city laid out on the tarp canvas, and there are the foam and cardboard buildings. Picture if Rampage, the game, was a wrestling show, and you pick up these buildings and throw them at each other. You slam each other onto them. Very, very over the top. Very, very character heavy. Very bombastic, as we said earlier. I was supposed to work for them in Tokyo at Shinkiba First in October of last September of last year was when I broke my ankle. So I wasn't going to be flying anytime soon, let alone wrestling.
Of
Uh,
course.
that was very heart wrenching, very demoralizing. Very. I was in such a state, particularly because I was on short-term disability at home for my shoot job. Couldn't wrestle, couldn't train. My right ankle, it was, so I couldn't drive. I wasn't about to, you know, go out somewhere, especially with the injury itself, and go see how I handle driving with the left foot. Wasn't about to do anything like that. I was genuinely, pardon me, I was genuinely considering just going and hanging out and experiencing the culture. Bad idea to fly. Bad idea to fly. I needed the money as well. I needed my money back, which I got for the travel arrangements, thankfully. But not a good idea to fly. Like I could have, and the ortho, the doctor I was seeing at the time, confirmed my fears when I asked him about it. Uh, I could have Chris Candido myself, basically. I could have had a blood clot of some kind. I could have died. Like, and part of me really, truly did not care. You know what I mean? Like, I really was like, well, I want to go to Japan if it kills me, and that was the wrong mentality. Very much how we've talked about already, approximations of these thoughts occur to you. You have this example. No, I can't do it though. You have the wherewithal to be like, no, 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 no. But
Yeah.
oh man.
That would have been, I mean, to be quite frank, I'm sure that would have been incredible. I could see why it was so difficult for you to let go because, like, I've watched those before, and, like, as a fan of not only, like, kaiju movies, Godzilla movies, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to just be, like, pretend to be the giant monster and just smash a bunch of stuff. Like, it's just, and I know somebody would be like, oh, this guy's a freak. It's literally just kind of maybe a fantasy or I mean, it comes from watching way too many Japanese things. I'm a huge fan of the Japanese culture, of
Hmm.
the Japanese people. I've watched so many of those shows. You know, you talked about Power Rangers, which is literally just recycled from a 50-year-old Japanese show that is unfortunately ending very soon. It's going to be sad. But
There you
even
go.
Spider-Man, there's all kinds of different like kaiju TV shows and stuff, and you just see them get big all of a sudden and start breaking stuff, and it's just like, I think it would have been fantastic. It's great that you were able to get your money back though, because I know that can be a
Yeah,
huge pain with that kind of stuff. Um, Being someone who just a couple of years ago, and quite frankly, I'm happy you touched upon this because myself, a big reason as to why I started this initiative is because I got into a car accident and broke my kneecap 2 years ago. JJ and I were just literally trying to go get pizza from the store. And some guy just pulled right out in front of us in Manchester, when he shouldn't have been. He
Um,
wasn't paying attention, and I smashed into him. I tried to stop, couldn't stop, and luckily that he was an absolute gentleman, right? He genuinely apologized. He took full blame, not only with the insurance company, which we both shared the same insurance company because we were veterans, with the police. At one point, my ex-wife showed up, and I thought she was going to be very mad at me. So he actually jumped on the grenade, and he's like, "Listen, don't be mad at him. It's my fault. Yell at me." And it diffused the situation right away. It was pretty great. But having it be the first time I've ever broken a bone, and the fact that I really, you know, it was a mental struggle, and going through that mental struggle of having the broken leg and not being able to enjoy anything in life. Like it was the first time I cracked open the Xbox and I was like, all right, I'm playing Xbox now because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't enjoyment. It was like a week before my birthday and we were supposed to have all this stuff. And I this is where I can sympathize with you because I had gotten us some really great seats to see the New England Revolution, the soccer team, the professional soccer team down in Gillette. And JJ and I at the time were like so stoked. She's really one of those people who are diehard fans, right? So we get into those buildings and she's just like, singing along. I don't. Have you ever been to a soccer match at the Gillette Stadium?
no, no, I've been to a few. I've been to one or two football games, I want to say. I've at least seen like the Patriots practice and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Uh,
So a great thing about in soccer in general is really diehard fans. There's a particular section in Gillette just for those diehard fans, and they have like guys with large drums, and they're chanting all like the fight songs, like boom, 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 and JJ's over there like, yeah, let's go, let's break them in half. So it was a very
oh,
I
I can
almost
picture that too.
right, and I
Yeah.
almost like I literally had broken my leg, and it was like 6 days later we were supposed to go, and I'm telling you, I had to fight. If it was something as simple as a soccer game at Gillette, I could not imagine the wherewith. I couldn't imagine the weight of not going to Japan for kaiju battle. Like I empathize with
Yeah.
you so much. And um, broken bones. What did you do? What like mentally speaking? What did you do to get out of that funk? You had to have gotten into a funk after that.
Oh, I got into a funk. I got into a Terry funk. Uh, man, oh man. Yeah, at the time, leading up to it, I was working really, really hard on my Japanese. Uh, as I said earlier on Rainbow Rumble, I feel like I'm doing a lot of plugs for Rainbow Rumble. Um, I am actually, uh, I was asked about hidden talent, hidden passions. I'm very passionate about language and culture, especially as a means of connecting with friends and fans internationally, creating memories, creating experiences that you're now opened up to that you wouldn't be otherwise. I was working really, really hard on my Japanese leading up to and instead of kind of putting it away because, this only reminds me I couldn't, I doubled down. I doubled down and I worked on it even harder for the space of, I want to say like the following 2 months, pretty much until I could like actually walk again a little bit. And even then, I wasn't ready to train again. I wasn't ready to work. I was getting 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours of intensive, at least quality input, at least quality listening and reading as and when I could. Kanji is very difficult. Uh, and getting intensive study in every single day. It was something I could do. It was something that was within my power. And it was something that I was still very passionate about and thinking to myself, oh, I'll get, it's not right now. It was supposed to be right now, but I'll circle back to it. This will be my life for the next couple of months. Because other than that, it was getting groceries and meals on DoorDash, watching whatever English stuff I wanted to. Uh, not a whole lot, not a whole lot other than really taking in and tape study and wrestling tape study as well. A lot of which be doubled up in a way at the same time because I would watch matches from Japan with Japanese commentary and try to work out, not super intensively because I'm focused on the match. Every now and again, like something might pop up and noticing the pattern, like, oh, they said this again. Maybe that would be my cue to like look something up later if I remembered to. Or there might be a light bulb that goes off. Oh, hey, this means that.
See, and that's
Yeah.
very coincidental, I guess, because I've always been very fascinated by regional dialect. I especially in once again a plug for Rainbow Rumble. We touched upon the idea of like school doesn't necessarily teach you the best way of Spanish,
God, no. God,
and it's hilarious because at the time, so when I in 1996 I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. So I was living in Phoenix, with many people who were native to Spanish, and it was hilarious because I would go back and try to talk to them, and they'd be like, "You some kind of pompous aristocrat? Why do you sound like that?" And it's like, nah, that's the dialect in the book, man. Like, what do you want me to do? And
yeah,
I had a buddy, Pancho, Francisco. He would always tell me like the real way, like his way, like the Mexican American way of saying the thing, and I'd be like, I don't know if my brain can have this capacity. Um, so I've always been very fascinated with regional dialect just because, being originally from Lowell, Massachusetts, moving when I was 11 years old to Phoenix, Arizona, it was a culture shock, right? They were, I'm sitting there like, I'll never forget I had moved in August, and that coming November, I was like, isn't there going to be, we're going to be resetting the clock soon or something? And what I didn't realize is that in Arizona they don't have daylight savings time. So I'm sitting with a bunch of sixth graders, right? Yeah, Arizona, the state of Arizona still to this day does not do daylight savings time. And this is
I was today
1996.
years old when I discovered that, when you told me just now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it's 1996. We don't have cell phones. We can't just look it up. If you want to go to a computer, there was no Google search back then, right? You basically had to, and I didn't know how to explain it to people. But I remember, I remember it being early November going, it's kind of weird. We haven't changed the clocks. And, I was talking to these group of kids and they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, like in like the spring when we like change the clock and then in November we change it back. And they're like, this dude's crazy. Like this guy is making stuff up. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's saying it weird. He's like, go back to CAD, you bum. Go back to Jersey, you bum. You know what I mean? Like I actually had to
I
like
had,
worry about my the way I enunciated things because otherwise people
yeah,
would be like, "Where's this guy from? England?" You know what I mean? So that's why I've always been so fascinated with regional dialect. To be quite frank with you, it's hilarious that you said that.
yeah. For the sake of standardization, they
Right.
teach you, they teach you a dialect that nobody else in this hemisphere speaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Working in kitchens for as long as I did, I learned. I like to call it dirty kitchen Spanish because the way they were speaking to each other was definitely not anything you would ever find in a book. Man, there was vastly inappropriate and fast and loose, and it was crazy. And it was the only time I really got to use Spanish. So, like I said, for me, honestly, video games was like the only thing. I got super big into 2K for way too long, even though I'm going to throw too much shade at those games, but they could be better. WrestleMania 2000 was better. Nintendo 64 was better. So you're saying you doubled down on Japanese. Was there anything else that you used? We have friends over. Do you have a social network of some sort?
Couldn't really go anywhere. And long story short, I guess I'm a rather hyper independent person. I know a lot of people like this, but there were times where, let's say, I would order something, crutch my way on over to the door, take it inside myself. You know, I might try to carry too many things. I might drop them, make a mess, still try to clean it up myself. And my roommates would be like, "Are you doing? Let let us help you. Like, why didn't you say something?" It's because like I
Right.
don't want, you know, uh, that sort of deal. So I always felt bad bugging people. I would reach out, talk to some people, and it's always a matter of, oh, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need someone. And I'm like, okay, I never do it. You know, I I worry for some reason, for whatever
You
reason
know,
it is, and maybe that gets into a sense of, even if it's not generalized anxiety disorder, a sense of generalized anxiety that maybe I didn't always recognize as anxiety. Um, yeah, I mean, now it's off the rails, but like, long story short, I didn't really, despite having a support system at my disposal at the time, didn't make real good use of it. Um, that's part of a broader issue, I suppose.
yeah, and I'll throw myself under the bus. I was horrible at that stuff. Like I was literally, um, you know, when JJ's a great kid. She might cringe watching this or seeing this. She's probably in her room watching YouTube right now, giggling at me. But the funny thing is that she's such a great kid that we would go food shopping like normal. The difference being that instead of me actually getting out of the car, I was at least smart enough to do Walmart pickup. So then they would just throw it in the trunk, right? And we'd get in the house, and so like I said, my mom had 7 kids, right? So she taught us at a very young age, you carry everything in one trip or else, right? So me being me, I'm in my crutches and I'm like, I'm gonna carry it. I'm gonna carry it. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get this stuff. And I was just in a lot of pain. And I did the same thing. Like I'll throw myself on the bus and I did the same thing. JJ's sitting in the corner like, "What are you doing, dude?" Like, and I'm like, "I'm not gonna let my 10-year-old daughter carry my pizza box in the house." You know what I mean? It's definitely. I feel like it's a large struggle that we as Americans have, and we as men in general have.
I was
It's
gonna say it's worse if you're a man, for sure.
it really is, and I feel like one of the things that since I've been doing this whole mental health thing for like 2 years now with the nonprofit, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I feel like there's a huge part of our society that conditions us into believing into it, and it's something that I always try to bring up, always try to have in some kind of roundabout way at least, and that kind of beautifully segues into it because we're told, like, I don't know how many times I've been told, like, I was born alone and I'll die alone. And it's like, but were you? Because, like, your mother and father had to, like, actually, like, get together, and then your mother had to,
Yeah,
like, carry you for some months. And then, like,
yeah,
depending on the circumstances, you were probably born in a hospital with a bunch of doctors, or at least you're just your mom. So, like, were you born alone? So,
yeah. There's
and I,
born alone versus nobody was born with me, which is I
right.
think what they mean in a way, but
Right.
let
But the 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 energy, right? The circumstance that they act like they've always been doing it by themselves, despite us being the only set of like mammals on the planet that aren't like instantaneously useful, right? We can't hunt and eat. We can't go to the bathroom without someone had to nurture you from like 0 to at least like 8 or 4 or something so that someone could change your diaper and feed you and like put you in bed. Like, there was some kind of physical thing. What the stem goes from that little seed is that um I feel like, especially in America, and I've been seeing it a lot more lately, and it's something I try to raise awareness of, is we kind of tend to romanticize the 1950s, right? Where
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really do, we
Mm.
really do. And I hate to tell you guys, the ship has sailed. It's gone. All right. I mean, look at this. You know what I mean? And I like to dress up, and Elvis is my favorite guy of all time. The cars are beautiful, the clothing was awesome, all that stuff. But at the same time, there was only one time in the history of the world where one man could work one job, own a home and a car, and feed a family of six. It never happened in the history of humanity before that, and it is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
It's
It
over.
was never the expectation before that. I
Right.
The
It
nuclear family was transplanted into the American consciousness in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
that
It didn't exist.
became the norm after millennia of intergenerational households and households that looked
Right.
all kinds of different ways.
Right. And it's gone, right? The economy shows that it's gone. The statistical data show that it's gone. And I feel like human beings romanticizing that it's become detrimental, to quite frank with you. It's one of those, well, my grandfather, he used the bootstraps, so why can't I? It's never going to work again. Quite frankly, if you look into it, the only reason our grandparents or great grandparents were able to do it is because after World War II and during World War II, we destroyed all the competition. There was no other manufacturing jobs in the world. Nobody else was making cars. Nobody else was doing anything because they were rebuilding after being destroyed after a war. So that's why our economy boomed, because we were pristine land that was never touched in the first place, except for Hawaii. May they rest in peace, all right? But what I'm saying is, mainland America was fine. Detroit got to pump out as many cars as they wanted. Everybody needed what we had. So that's why I say it almost every time I can to whoever I can that, hey, as much as it is wonderful to be strong and independent, all right, it's not a horrible plan to have some friends around you that care about you, right?
Hmm.
That will take
Big
care of you, that will have your back. Now, my question is, after going through that whole scenario, are you better at it now, or is it still as hard?
Better at what? I'm sorry.
Are you better at asking for help when you need it, or is it still really hard?
I'm a little better at asking for help when I need it. After that, after going through actually a more minor injury earlier this year, straining a ligament in my right shoulder, very briefly needing a sling, only really being on the shelf for a couple of weeks. Uh, I got slightly better about it when it was a matter of this is temporary. I have a timeline on. I can walk around. I can drive. Can you please get that thing off the shelf for me? Or or something.
Right. All right. So, hey, progress is progress, man. Progress is progress, even if it's just in the tiniest of increments, as they say. Um, I guess my next question would be then, how has wrestling in general impacted your mental health, right? Both positively and negatively. Like, what
Mm.
are the ins and outs of going from a fan to where you are now?
Off the top of my head, I'm probably a far more competitive person than I was before. At least at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, where I trained for 7 years. Uh, from very early on, they instilled a mentality in us. Yes, you should yearn for each other to succeed, but at the end of the day, you are each other's competition. You do want your peers in some situations to be the barometer for you to judge. Oh, okay, you did it better this time. Next time I'll do better, etc. Um, it just got me thinking more competitive headspace, seeing things through a competitive lens. And, pro wrestling is so unique in that it attracts all kinds of different people from all kinds of different backgrounds because it appeals to any and all of them. Uh, there will be people who set foot in a wrestling ring for the first, never having had an interest in sport or fit, like never. Um, and it's not like I was necessarily that way. I did amateur wrestling in high school, for example, and I did, take a great interest in fitness, be it like, not that I competed or anything, but I took a great interest in powerlifting and bodybuilding and all kinds of things, particularly in college. Uh, but they can turn somebody who's not well acquainted with those things into somebody who is competitive, who can, take on an athlete's mindset. Um, we have to be careful, and this is probably one of the more negative aspects of at least my experience. Have to be careful not to let that turn into, I guess, destination addiction, but also turn it into constantly comparing yourself with everybody all the time. There's a phrase I like, a saying I like that is comparison is the thief of joy. And that's something I want to keep in mind insofar as it doesn't interfere with positive impact, a newfound competitive mindset. But at the same time, there's a very fine, healthy balance there, or there should. A lot of times I don't think there is. A lot of times it's very easy to get wrapped up in, oh, but this person got booked here and I did. This person got this title before I did. Uh, this person got on shows sooner. That's a big one with me. I was kind of a or a late bloomer, I should say. Um, Slow to really get to a point where my trainers were comfortable giving me the green light to go perform, to go be safe and have fun and compel audiences with their stamp of approval. It was a long time coming. It was about 3 years. Um, you don't want to get into unfair comparisons with people because we all have our strengths and weaknesses at the end of the day. That's important to keep in mind, even if you have to tell it to yourself 100 times a day. It's something I'm still working on, frankly. Those are a couple things off the top of my head. Otherwise, I don't know. Time management. Time management can be very tricky when you're, let's say, working full time, training 2, 3, 4 times a week. Even if you're not working shows just yet, making it out to pay your dues at different shows and network and make it known, hey, I'm serious about it. Even just those things, never mind gym time, never mind maintaining a relationship or all the various life relationships, having a hobby or two, maybe something that will advance you professionally, like I mentioned language earlier. Um, that's basically my hobby. Uh, you can spread yourself very, very thin, very, very fast. One has to know themselves and their limits and their weaknesses very, very, very to make it work in a way that, frankly, I don't think I have just yet. Uh, it's so, so easy to get so, so burnt out so, so fast in pro wrestling. I wish I had a neat little answer wrapped in a, where I could be like, hey, do this. Um, but I'm not there yet myself. It's a struggle of mine at this present moment. Um, the comparison, the newfound competitiveness, the uh, difficulty with time management, uh, the internalizing of, let's say, feedback or criticism or tension involved with pro wrestling. You can sometimes see that through a personal lens, especially if you take pro wrestling particularly serious. especially if it's something you're deeply passionate about and this is your long-term goal. It can all be very overwhelming, very tough pill to swallow when, like we touched upon earlier somewhat, uh, one has to come to terms with like, maybe my experience in wrestling will not be what I thought it was supposed to be in our mind. That doesn't mean it has to be doom and gloom and oh, woe with me. Uh, that's something a lot of people, I think, I know I uh, have great difficulty with.
Expectation,
And
you
I know
mean?
that's a lot.
So like expectation versus reality.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I mean those are great points. I know in general in life especially it's certainly a struggle for people for expectation versus reality. Um, I actually had a conversation with someone I won't name just for the sake of argument um, recently who is in the professional wrestling business and wonderful guy. I actually had a super amazing conversation. It was very surreal for me. Um, and he was essentially telling me, you know, when he's normally talking to someone about the wrestling business, it's sort of like an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who thinks next week they're going to show up at WrestleMania, right? That they're just going to like come in here and be the hottest thing since you know John Cena, and next month they're going to be headlining WrestleMania. Um, I feel like it that type of expectation versus reality does kind of come with the territory of wisdom with the age. You
yeah,
know, if you're paying
it
attention,
sure
because I
does.
know there's some people who are older than me and don't are they're lacking of wisdom, but I feel like those people don't allow the reality to set in ever, right? My kids, I tell this to them all the time. When if you do something and you feel embarrassed, it's probably because you did something embarrassing. And you probably shouldn't hide from that. If you want to learn from that mistake, you should probably let your body just process those emotions effectively. And then the next time you go to do something, you'll remember the fact that it felt embarrassing and then you might not do it again. You have a better chance. And it comes with that wisdom. It comes with that time. Does it make it easy? No. Life's never easy. There's no guarantees. Right? I remember Macho Man saying that the only guarantees there are no guarantees. Maybe I should ask this one selfishly, right? So I guess I'll put it out there. I haven't been putting it out there pretty profusely yet, but I have decided to go to wrestling school. Not because I want to be a wrestler, because I think at 40 years old I'm going to be John Cena tomorrow, but because I want to pay my dues, quite frankly. Like, it was asked upon me, like, would you pay your dues? I'm like, listen, I was in the army. I know all about paying dues.
You
And
know, hard.
yeah, I know all about hard work. I've literally had to use a e-tool this big to dig a 6 foot deep, 6 foot wide thing to sleep in. All right, in the ground. Okay, so I'm not afraid of hard work, and I understand that maybe necessarily the skills I might have somewhere else doesn't matter. It doesn't translate over. That's just the reality of it, right? And I'm sure that when I go to school next year, when I finally get wonderfully into shape, right? Knock on wood, I'm going to be doing it. There's, man, I'm so hard on myself. It's probably going to be like, if anything, I'm going in this low, and every, you know, people think they're going to be John Cena. They're up here, and I'm just like, hey, look, I did it right. It's a miracle. Self-deprecating all day. All right, I came from Lowell. That's what we do. We self-deprecating all day. So I guess selfishly, I should ask for myself and anybody thinking about strapping on the boots. When it comes to that expectation versus reality, what do you remember? What hit hardest for you when you were first in school?
Um, just how often it felt like my brain and my body were at odds. My body was not necessarily doing what I visualized, what I convinced myself I could do, what I was sure I could do. Tried to apply feedback I was getting. Didn't happen now. I think that may be a pretty common struggle with neurodivergent individuals. Full disclosure, I have ADHD, and I do believe that's a common complaint that a lot of people who've come through our school with, let's say, autism may have had, and still do have. We still have a lot of neurodivergent students. Uh, and I wish there was a simple like answer for that. That was probably the biggest thing for me because it's just the thing that came up time and time again. Um, where, you know, people are becoming angry with you
Right.
because of something, as far as you know, as far as you feel, you can't really control, uh, but you're trying your hardest to control and you don't know why. You don't know why,
It's
you're
just
not
not.
able to execute what they're asking you to execute when they ask you, why can't you execute?
What's wrong? Yeah, I mean, being someone who would join the army in 17, right? I got screamed at like there's no tomorrow by those guys. What I tell you, Brad? I told you to do this way, Brad. Like, woo, woo. So I can certainly comprehend where that's going, right? The idea of you're in your mind having this like conscientious decision to do these things, and then you're just like, why didn't my foot move when it should have, right? You're just like, there's that disconnect. There's that large
Literally, exactly.
disconnect between what you're telling yourself to do, what it's going on, and the expectation versus reality. And then everybody's like, I did certainly remember a few drill sergeants thinking, I was like, razzing them. Like, I was just like, what are you just trying to do? Piss me off? And it's like, no, I genuinely would like to perform this action so you can stop screaming in my face. But every time I do it, it comes out wrong, right?
Oh yeah, I've genuinely been asked, like, are you messing with me? Are you trying to make me angry? Are you trying to like bring this out of me?
Someone,
Because it feels like you're messing with me,
someone put you up to this? Am I getting ribbed? Right? Is
right?
Owen Hart here? Is he ribbing us? No.
I would, I
Right? He was something else, that guy. Something else. Um, So, you touched on the ADHD. Is that what you said? Just want to make sure
yeah,
I
me,
heard you.
I have ADHD.
Have you ever struggled with like anxiety or depression or any of those other things? And with ADHD, is it how do you balance that with now that you're like out of school and I saw you twice in the last week or something. I can't remember. We saw
Yeah,
you what?
in the same weekend, there
Yeah.
was Breaking Point and there was like this EW.
Right. And there's guys like DJ Powers with like 6 matches going back and forth the limitless stuff. I'm sure that was
Yeah,
rough for that guy. So
had
what is your I'm curious what your struggles are. Like how do you get through those struggles when you're having a long weekend driving from Lowell to Maine? You know what I mean?
good question. That's a very very good question, frankly. Like I'm trying to think because
I feel like I need to
I
put on my dad
struggle
hat. Shawn, are you taking care of yourself, Shawn? Let's do it, Shawn.
really trying, really
Right.
trying. The executive dysfunction to the uninitiated, the difficulty doing things like anything is super bad when you consider ADHD and depression, because you can experience what may be called ADHD paralysis, where you're trying to decide the order of events and course of action of what you want to do, you aim to the point where you begin to even ponder the threshold between goal and action, and depression kind of causing you to see things through a futile and negative and really dreary light. There are days where I may do what I have to and nothing else, what I absolutely have to survive and nothing. Days where I'll struggle to shower, to take proper care of myself in other areas, like to eat enough or to eat all the right things or the right balance of things. Yes, this may come as a shock, uh, to our listeners. Never non-vegan, by the way. Uh, but almost 14 years. December 7th, it'll be 14 years. Especially this time of year, I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer for how I manage. Like there will come times where I will make my obligation and maybe nothing much else, to be perfectly honest. I what I'm trying to say with that is touching on what I may have mentioned earlier. Know your limits and know your and recognize when you're spiraling straight. Recognize when like this pursuit here is not an entirely necessary pursuit, not a necessary task for me right now. Put a pin in it. Maybe let's do that later, or maybe let's forget about it, at least for the foreseeable future. Let's do what we gotta, is what it turns into, even though there are days where it's like, I literally don't want to do anything. I don't want to do nothing, but there's nothing I want to do.
That's valid.
In your mind and body, uh, feels like hell on earth, man. Like, I don't know how else
How else to
to
put it?
describe it. And it's something that, again, I hesitate to give advice for
Well,
outright,
yeah, of course, of course.
as opposed to give perspective, because it's something like I've yet to hit the nail on the head.
Right, and I feel like that's actually like a great point. It's like we're here to be human. We're not here to solve the world's problems. We're just here to be ourselves. And sometimes we have some bad days, and maybe we don't do the things, but at least you are conscientiously aware of knowing that, hey, man, there's room to grow. Because there are so many people who are in a funk or in a bad wave, and they don't even think like, hey, there could be space. They're so trapped where they're thinking that there is nowhere else for them to go. That's horrible, right? This is one of the reasons why I want to tell people or have people tell their stories, tell my story, whatever. I'll be as self-deprecating as I need to be to let other people feel comfortable to tell their self-deprecating stories, you know, um, so that they understand that, hey, just because you were not doing as well as you think you could be today doesn't mean tomorrow's got to be gloom and doom. You could do better, right?
Just
Um,
because you're not literally perfect.
right. Just I can't do this on my own. I'm no Superman.
Hmm.
I sing that all the time when I'm having a bad day. I just hum it or literally just say it out loud when I'm like, you could be doing, that little voice in the back of my head just keeps going, you're failing, you're a loser, you're an idiot, you're a failure, you're a loser. And I just sound like
You're
start singing the
stupid
song.
is a big one for me.
You're stupid. Yeah.
So deeply insecure about my intelligence, it's not even fun.
Isn't it isn't it so strange to think that it's almost like you have to be of a certain IQ to be afraid of being dumb?
You're
Isn't it?
self-aware.
Like,
Yeah,
you have to have that self awareness, and I mean no disrespect by saying it, but I've talked to so many people who, I worked at Motel 6 for many years. All right, so you can only imagine the stories I could tell. I'm sure some would get me banned on YouTube right away.
I'm sure I
Um,
can't imagine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I literally one time had a detective, a genuine police detective, come into the room, investigating something, asking me questions. I'm not going to go into it. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "You have a hard job." And I said, "Excuse me, sir?" And he said, "You have a hard job." And I was like, "I have a hard job. You're the one investigating this.
Right.
You're literally here to investigate a crime." And he said, "That's fine. I get to carry a gun." And I said, "You win this argument. You
Yeah,
win." Okay?
that's the one. Ding.
So with that being said, right? I have seen some people that I question, like, how do they not know what they're doing right now isn't exactly the brightest thing to be doing? And then it took me some time to realize that those people are so unaware of what's happening that they'll never question anything because they don't have the functioning capability to do so. Like they don't have that thing, right?
There's that, and or they're already venturing into being outright self-destruct. I say and or because it could be.
Could be both. Could be both. I've met some people definitely on both paths, and it's not good. It's not. It's not good. It's not good. I've seen some very some very disturbing things in my time, and that's one of the reasons why I want to be here, and try to get some kind of awareness and clarity. Once again, services are coming soon. I'm working on some donations, and I do have a program, but it's not exactly open to the public yet, so I can't exactly get everybody in just yet. But there are some people who are working with others, and in the meantime, I know some people in the mental health community. If you need someone to genuinely talk to, just let me know. Shameless self
Where are
plug
you
for me.
down here?
Right down, right down in the chat. So you touched upon a couple of interesting topics, a couple of interesting. I really had to ask this one question though, because it's in my mind, especially after this last weekend, and um, so I don't know if you've ever seen any of my stuff, but for a couple of times I've done like what I call what's actually someone else called the Rev Dude review, where I actually put the whole show into like a 20-minute thing, and then review the whole thing. And I've been doing that for the EWA main show. And so what I'm saying is I've watched your match with Mortar back like 7 times now because I try to edit it together. And this is kind of a two-part question. I'll ask the first one. I am curious for you. What is the feeling that you get when you are in that? Does that all go away? All that stress, anxiety, psychosis, bad day, no shower? How does it feel?
It doesn't go away for me, but I'm also not me at that moment. Uh, I'm somebody else entirely. The person who might have just got off a 9 or 10 hour shift. Like,
Right.
yeah. Uh, I'm not sure how to describe it other than that, you know? It's often a good feeling, even if, let's say, there may be stress surrounding the build to a match or worrying in a futile fashion that it's not going to live up to expectations, uh, even though those expectations may be something I'm projecting onto it myself. Like you say, perception is reality. Uh, it typically doesn't go away, but is certainly on the back burner when it's like, okay, got a job. This is going to be the focus of for the next 6 to 8 minutes or longer. I'm going to compel these people. I'm going to interact. I'm going to try to just make it fascinating,
Right.
make
You
it
know,
like, some good, entertaining, simulated content.
when myself, so like I went to film school. I actually have a bachelor's degree in digital filmmaking and video production, right?
Hmm.
So I there is a certain indescribable feeling that I get when behind the camera, when I'm genuinely there and trying to capture those moments. It's it's almost spiritual in nature. It's like, oh my god, like this is it clicks in a way where I'm like, I know instantaneously this is what I was meant to do. I could be the shittiest cameraman on earth. Let's be honest with you. This guy's garbage. Okay, that's fine. I can give you that. That's not what I said. I didn't say I was Steven Spielberg. I kind of wish, but I'm not. What I'm saying is, when I'm behind that camera and I'm doing that thing, I just, that world just, everything else just kind of washes away. It's not here right now. It's just, it's somewhere else. I don't have to worry about it. So, do you get a little bit of that when you're in the ring?
In a way, yes, because as I say, it's almost like I'm not, but
Right.
the me that is left is thinking all hands on. mentally and physically, for or promo or performance time. You're SVK now. You're not who you were before.
Right. With that, you said you're SVK now. I was kind of curious. Do you ever? I don't know if you ever. Do you ever watch What Culture? Like What Culture Wrestling? Those
Yes.
guys.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
So I'm a huge What Culture nerd. I went to Mania this past year and I got to hang out with those guys for 3 days. Salted the other guys. Hanging out with them, honestly, like I made me love Simon Miller even more because he's got the ups and the
Oh,
downs,
d-
and
I got to
he,
meet Simon Miller at Mystery Wrestling in Gatineau, Quebec. Mm,
right,
fantastic guy. Nicest guy you'll ever.
absolutely, he's so down to earth. I was making jokes, making comments. I kept talking about, damn, bro. I was just like, just because like on TV, YouTube, whatever, your phone, it's one thing, but when you see him in person, he is swole, right?
Sure.
So I was like, damn, you're one swole ass Simon, and he's like, hey man, thanks. Like he was hilarious. So um, your match, watching it back, because when I'm actually recording it, I'm really not. I can't pay attention to what's really happening in the ring because I'm too busy trying to make sure I'm capturing what's going on in the ring. I can't really pay attention to the
Exactly.
story or I don't.
Exactly.
There's actually some moments that when I'm watching it back, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even realize that happened because I was too busy going, is everyone properly in the frame? You know what I mean? You're not seeing
Yeah.
those little things. Right.
Are we seeing?
Yeah, exactly. So, which was funny because Shannon, I don't know if you saw my Instagram, but Shannon threw one of those out there last night because I got a good picture of her. But your match made me think of Simon because you did the whole eye band, like the whole sweatband over your eye thing. Like
Yeah.
that was hilarious, and it made me think of Simon because he's always talking about, Goofy Wrestling. I literally have his shirt, his Goofy Wrestling for Life shirt. When I met him on that Friday, so they had the What Culture group had a watch party for SmackDown, and you got to just like hang out with them. They were just like chilling, and it was like, so we just get to like watch SmackDown with all these guys. Like there's the 14 Adams because they all have like for some whatever reason there's like 4 Adams that work in What Culture.
And then two or three leave, and four or five more come in.
Right, right. It was Adam and Adam and Adam and Adam and Adam. Okay, cool. Um, but you know, Simon loves the goofy stuff, and you were doing the whole goofy stuff, and I was like, I wonder if he knows Simon would be so proud right now.
Oh yeah, I know Goofy Wrestling for Life. We actually talked about that as well. When I'm like, yeah, people take wrestling so seriously sometimes for a medium where there was literally a match at Uncensored 1999 between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, World Heavyweight title versus the presidency of WCW. Because to the uninitiated, Flair in the late 90s was president of WCW in kayfabe. Presidency versus title in a steel cage with razor wire on the top, so nobody was getting. But it's a first blood match. But also, when they were doing the ring introductions before Michael Buffer clarified that it was billed as a first blood match, but it was going to be left down to the referee's decision. Like they were going to go on even if they bled.
Right.
Eh,
That's Vince Russo,
Partly
right?
perhaps because it was going to be all too easy to bleed if they were going to fight with the cage and the razor wire.
Right.
So I like to call it the presidency versus title razor wire steel cage first blood, but it's actually down to the referee's decision match. We talked about that, and it was like, yeah, we might as well lean in.
Right. No, I love it. Does that ease? My question is like, when you get to do the goofy stuff, does it ease attentions a little bit? Does it take any
Yeah,
pressure off?
big, big.
And
You forget to have fun sometimes. You forget to
right,
just have.
right. And Adam Booker seems like such a nice guy. I only got to talk to him a couple of times, quite frankly, but he seems like such a nice guy. And then the fact that Because some of those promoters that only run like once in a quarter or every couple of months or whatever, they try to get like super serious, and they're like, we got to be a certain way and stuff. And like Adam reached out to me and we talked about things, and he just seemed like such a wonderful human being. And then to see the card that was put together was phenomenal. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, right? When when someone like Mortar's only the second match, you're like, holy crap! Strap yourself in, kids. It's gonna be a big one, right? So, to see that match the way you guys put it together, it just made me as a wrestling fan, maybe too much of a nerd mark, whatever you want to use the nomenclature. Just like, oh, I love it, because like otherwise there'd be people who are in the back like pissed off, like, oh, you guys aren't blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, if they're able to do this, we're okay with it. And I had to once again, the video is probably going to come out Sunday when I do my Rev Dude review for EWA main. It's flipping me out here, but I just had to shout that out because I was just like, Simon would be proud. Like, he's one of my inspirations, honestly. Simon Miller, and Chris Van Vliet, easily. Like, how could you not? How could you go wrong? And I actually, if you look on Simon Miller's Instagram, you'll see my photo because I got my own. I'm such a nerd, and I'll plug my buddy. He makes custom action figures, and he made me two Simon Miller figures, and one I'm bringing with me, and I'm going to go to Mania next year, and I'm gonna give it to Simon as a gift. So Simon Miller's going to have a custom Simon Miller action figure. I think the head it's a 3D scan of his own head, but the body was like Ryback, I think. So,
sounds about right, though, doesn't it?
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because you got
Sounds
the
about
symbol.
right.
Right. So, but yeah, so the match itself was great. It made me really wish I wanted to. My brain was thinking, though, I wish I could set up a camera so these guys can stay in the back and watch these matches as we go. Because everybody's like standing there like, I had to do a lot of editing to get rid of all of the. I didn't do it for the videos, but for the photography, if you ever see the pictures, I had to do a lot of editing to get rid of even just like the lady selling popcorn. The only people that I didn't get rid of those people when it came to the entrance was Mortar. And I don't know why. Maybe I assume too much, right? I've never really talked to him too much. But something about him as like a person / character or whatever just kind of said he wouldn't mind people being there, right? Felt like with other people.
No.
Like with other people, I was like, let's keep the focus on, whoever else I did. I did like 75. I had literally took like 1,000 photos. Okay. So those other people, I got rid of Adam, which is funny because half the time he's like waving at the camera, probably assuming he'd be there, but then I just like, he's gone. You're gone. Sorry, Adam. You're gone.
Don't like you that.
Mortar's the only person, if you look through the pictures, that I actually kept from the entrance to the apron. Like from the entrance to the apron, most people I got rid of heads and all kinds of stuff to focus on just that person. So, like Calypto, I got a couple of good pictures of her, I think. I tried my best, at least. But with him, even with a couple of pictures of you, I had to get rid of the videographer because he was pretty predominant in the photographs. So, not to say it would have ruined the picture, but just for my own brain, I was like, get rid of this guy. We just want Shawn here, damn it. Just Shawn. Just have Shawn, damn it. It's probably good my son's at home. He'd be like, why does my dad keep yelling at me? I didn't even do anything. Right? Didn't even do it. He's yell at the other guy. Yell at the other Shawn. So once again, you had a long weekend. You had those two big matches, one for Chaotic, one for the EWA main. I guess we'd say your alter ego is going to be at Rad Pro Wrestling in December 6th. Um,
Yep. Leaf
uh,
Montgomery's going to be defending the Rad Pro tag titles alongside the first
right.
against the Lovitz
The
at
Lovitz with Monday in your corner. That's oh man,
Monday as the plant based.
plant based. You know, and I don't, and it's funny because I tell people this all, not all the time, but I've told a couple of people this kind of joke that JJ and I have. And for those who are uninitiated, I have to explain it for like 8 minutes. But for anybody who knows chaotic, it's instantaneously like understood. So we have a term in our house now called the princess banana plant. Okay. And for anybody who has never been to chaotic, right? The king and the queen, we got that's their daughter, right? So she's a princess. She dresses up like a banana and she's got all the coolest signs you've ever thought of. So she's a banana, but she's got those signs, and so we call her the Princess Banana Plant because she's a plant, so to speak, because she's got the signs. And I remember going to the first show and I was seeing her and I was like, how does everybody know where this kid in a banana costume is? And then like my dad's sense kicked in where I'm just like, I was like very concerned where I was like, this like 14-year-old kid's like by herself in a banana costume in the
What's up?
bleachers? What's up with that? Like, I was just like, do I need to pay attention? Like, my dad's sense was just like, I got to keep an eye on this kid. But if anybody messes with him, I'm gonna be. Little did I know, there was no concern whatsoever. Just as a dad, you see things, and I've been a dad for almost 24 years. It just comes with the territory. I can't turn it off. And you see those things, you're just like, oh crap, you know what I mean? But the Princess Banana Plant, that's always the joke in the house where I'm always like, "You gotta hurry up, JJ, and bring the gecko to meet meet the banana. We gotta do it. We gotta meet the banana."
Yeah.
Oh,
We can't reschedule that appointment again.
right, right. The mega powers collide. Coming down off this big weekend, do you have like a high low radius? You know, like do you get home early morning Sunday and you're just like drained after all this time? You sound like you're sick. Like, take me through your mental state right now. I'm curious.
Hmm. Getting home after a big weekend of shows. Uh, typically I am a bit flat, I would say, after conveying the emotional, artificial and other involved with pro wrestling,
Right, right, of course.
across two, three, sometimes four shows. Let's maybe working Thursday. Um, although more commonly I may have two shows in a row, sometimes three. Even two really take a lot out. Really take a lot out. I typically just like to do no, go no. I'll probably stretch quite a bit. I'll probably work on myself quite a bit with a massage gun. Otherwise, hang out with my, do what I've got to do, not much more. And try to enjoy what I like. If I've got that Sunday free, that is. If I don't, well, boo. Like, but yeah. If it's not a Sunday, then it's like you got work in the morning. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much what it boils down to. Like, I find myself very burnt out, even just from 1 or 2 days. You know, conveying some real polarizing emotions.
Right.
And genuinely experiencing quite a lot.
So I know I kind of did some like acting in college, right? I mean, that's you go to an art school, you're gonna do some acting. That's kind of how that goes. Um, I actually had a lot of fun with like voice work. You know, you you were talking earlier how you're more like introverted. I'm the opposite. I'm extroverted. Like it took everything in me, honestly, when the in not to throw shade, of course, so just to make sure I say that first. On Saturday when the audio stopped working, right? And it was some of the audience members weren't able to understand Jalisa, right? It took everything in me not to just be like go in there and use my super loud voice to just be like, you know what I mean? Just to kind of, I kind of feel like it just comes from that's just my personality. I love to be. I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts. We're loud people, right? I'm proud to be loud. I probably should get a bumper sticker or something. Proud to be loud, right? So, um, when that didn't work out so loud and people were like, "What is she saying?" I give up. I just be like, "Listen, people, listen. Maybe you could hear the woman. All right,
She's
calm down,
trying
man.
to project.
She's trying to. She's doing the best she can. How dare you?" Right? You know. Once again,
And you
dad
know
mode.
she did a good job too. It's just a shame.
Oh my god, she's great. She's great. She got to do the
She's fan.
25th, she got to do the 25th anniversary, right?
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh my god, like it's she's actually on the list now of one of the people that JJ wants to take a picture with, but it's never like there's never a time because she's always behind the thing. So like we don't want to
I
be
will. I will have to get a hold of Jaleesa. I'm very
okay.
good friends with Jaleesa. I can make that.
All right, awesome, awesome. And I did get a couple of good pictures of her as well, but I was like, I know her Instagram's private, so I don't know if I should post them because I don't want to. I don't want it to be weird, but at the same time, she is in public doing a public job, so it's kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, there's that.
There's that, and she did, you know, a great job. She does a great job. I was sitting there and I was like, oh,
Yes.
you remember? I remember when I finally got like front row seats and I was able to watch, and I was like, oh, that's who does all the stuff on Instagram.
Hmm.
Oh, now it makes sense. Oh, okay.
He's
You
behind
know,
the man.
behind the magic. You know, um, I would say for me, right, to spine back into recently, um, it was actually going to the chaotic shows, starting to love the because like I haven't watched it. I haven't missed a WWE show in a long time or an AEW show in a long time, but it had been a long time since I had been to like a chaotic or one of those other independent shows, and going to a couple of them with JJ and her falling in love with it is like what re-sparked it with me to go back into it to the old me, right? Because as a father, there are times where you have to choose, right? You have to choose your children over your dreams. You have to choose your children over and your responsibilities over things that you would have loved to do. And the funny thing is, young JJ used to get scared of wrestling. Like, and I would put it on. She'd be like, "Oh my god, that guy just fell off a ladder. Is he dead?" Like, she was like genuinely worried. And it's not like she was like, oh, scared about it. It's just that she's just such a empathetic person that she'd be like, "Why are they hurting each other? Like, that's just so mean." Now she's like, "Hit him harder, bro. Don't
Yeah,
you
the human empathy kicks in
ever?"
every now and again. That pesky.
Right, right, right. How dare you throw Shannon through that? What was it? It was the door full of tacks. How dare you push her into the door? I will
Yeah, in
get
between
you
two guardrails, I was
through the
so concerned. I
Oh
was
my
so
god.
concerned. Like, ugh.
Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. So with that being said, like there was parts of me that lay dormant because I have three kids, right? And I just didn't think about those dreams. But if you were to go to somebody who would have met me in high school, they would have said, "Oh yeah, that's all he ever talked about was wrestling." I had a shaved head. I wore the jeans and the black boots. I tried to do the walk every day. I didn't even. I literally lived the gimmick so bad. It was so bad that I would never put my backpack on my back. I used to hold my backpack as if it was Steve Austin holding a title. People are like, why do you always hold it like that? I'm like, and that's the bottom line. It was dumb. It was so dumb.
Yeah. Why do you hold it like that? Because Stone Cold said so. Like,
Exactly. Duh. Didn't you get the memo, guys? Get it together. So I feel like the turning point for me, pun intended, the turning point for me was, you know, JJ was got into it, and we're going to these shows, and then I went to the Limitless show that they had, the Vacation Land Cup, or the Vacation Land Cup a couple of months ago, and I just remember being so far away from the ring, and I told myself, like, what are you doing? Like, you're on the wrong side of the you're on the wrong side. Like, with all due,
mhm.
like, my I was sitting there and I was watching. It was a schmoz between the System and Tommy Dreamer and a couple of the guys. It was like this big 3-on-3 schmoz, and they're just beating the crap out of each other, going up and down and everywhere, and it was just a schmoz. And I'm just like, I literally don't care if I'm just the guy who like brings everybody water. Like, I'm on the wrong side of the goddamn ring here. Like, I'm on the wrong. Like, people always think, oh, you think you're so smart, you're gonna go be the president. No, I literally just said it. Like, I'll be the guy who just brings you guys waters. I don't give a shit. I'll be the guy who just gets the jackets off the ground and brings them to the back quietly, and nobody ever knows my name. I'm okay with
You
it.
got to be in.
But I'm just the wrong. I'm on the wrong fucking side. I'm on the wrong side. So I'm changing that. Right? It's a struggle. The struggle is real, but that's a change. That's a change. Now, with that giant, long, convoluted nonsense that sounded better in my head than maybe it sounded out loud, and I'll critique this later and be like, "Damn it, Christopher, cringe!" Right? Um, has there been anything that you feel like you had to give up on because of professional wrestling?
Mm. There's any number of sacrifices professional wrestling, successful by any metric, sometimes maybe not successful by their own metric. Somebody taking professional wrestling and really taking a run, there will be any number. They probably won't even know or be able to tell you the number. Birth, wakes, funerals, I don't know, christenings, bar mitzvahs, holidays, even. The wrestling industry is better about this now, at least the whole like not running on every major holiday thing. Uh, you're gonna, if you either on the road constantly or training constantly or making it out and paying your dues and later working shows constantly, there's a lot you may miss out in the lives, those you love and those who love. That can be very fairly recently. Uh, some of my nieces and nephews didn't even really know who I, like maybe they knew about the idea of me. And it helps that they're getting a little older and they start to remember things. Um, when they were little, they might not recognize me. Stuff like that can be a tough pill to swallow. Um, I don't know if there's any broader goal I necessarily had to give up to take on professional wrestling. Like when I went to college for psychology, the original idea was to pursue psychotherapy later on. So go to grad school, uh, attain a practice, and to pursue a more realistic career. Oh, if this is what I'm going to pursue, if we're keeping it realistic, I'm going to do this. I'm going to help people. And it's somewhat, apropos that I'm speaking about this on this podcast because mental health, more broadly was something I always cared about very and awareness surrounding mental illness. So I figured I'll go say I missed out on that, on arguably the relative stability, arguably the more for my community or my surroundings. But I don't think I was going to be even remotely happy doing that in hindsight. There are things you miss out that turn out to be blessings in disguise. Um, I certainly attaining a love life or romance of any until very, very recently. Basically until I was sure about somebody.
Mm.
Um, it's that realistically, when you're as serious a pro wrestler to the extent where you want to make a living out of it, or at least you want to turn it into something viable. This is something pursue worst case scenario. Maybe you lose your shoot job and you've still got merch money coming in, or you've still got bookings, and it's like, oh, thank God for this. There are any number of sacrifices and things you miss out on inherently as a pro wrestler. And a lot of those things will stick personally as they stick with, uh, you know, any other individual pursuing this in like fashion, or even a more serious, comprehensive, laser focused fashion. Because there's always going to be somebody who works.
Yeah, no, and I genuinely appreciate your honest answer there. Like it's so refreshing to hear about that and to to see the sincerity. You know, I've been to I don't know how many shows recently, and pretty much all the chaotic shows since July.
Hmm.
Pretty much all of them. Pretty sure all of them at this point. I already have tickets. We could do a shame. We could do a not so shameless plug for Chaotic and Rad Pro. Go buy tickets now. They're all on sale. December 5th, December 6th, December 17th. It's the 2 weeks
I
after this.
believe that that should be the ninth
Yeah,
if
19th.
it's 2 weeks.
Numbers,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the
Chaotic
January.
Wrestling Balance of Yeah, yeah. Pandemonium is going to
Pandemonium.
be on the 11th of Friday, if I'm not mistaken. It's the 11th or like the 6th.
Yeah, I think it's the 11th. I think you're right. Whatever. Buy them all,
It
guys. Just
starts.
buy them all. It's in January and it's on a Friday. I can tell you that much. All right, sounds good. So, um, but I feel like at least a few handful of people from the chaotic universe and the Nepwa universe, as you'd say, have just been so kind and respectful for JJ and myself. So I want to make sure. That's why I wanted to make sure to pause for the plug there. You know, one thing I can say that I've definitely, I don't know if I would say I enjoyed, so to speak, but it's always wonderful to see that your family's there for you, right?
Hmm.
You got the, I'm always, like, um, JJ was running the camera in Maine, and I was like running back and forth between the ring and the entryway. And anytime I got to a certain point, I'd be like, "Go vegan," Even if you weren't there, it didn't matter. I just said it anyway. Go vegan. Um, and I can't remember who said it specifically, but at one point they were like, "Oh, I can't believe he jumped on him like that in front of his own brother right there."
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was your partner and somebody else was behind us, and they were talking about it. And they're like, "Look at him,
It
look at
might.
him. And look at him jumping in front of his brother over there." And I was just like, "Oh man, this is a goofy wrestling for life when he's just like, hey bro, watch this." Man, it's just hearing the words are difficult sometimes, guys.
Oh yeah.
Hearing all those struggles that you have, I can say that especially in the Army, right? I was in the Army and I missed everything, right?
Oh yeah,
You miss everything.
you know.
You miss everything. So like I could say that I've definitely had to go through it. I literally have 5 jobs right now. So like people are always like, I've been called out so many times by like past girlfriends or even family members, and rightfully so. They were upset. They're like, oh, you didn't go to my birthday party. You didn't go to my, they were in a play or something. You didn't do this, that. And I'm like, listen,
You didn't go to my any.
right. And they're like, oh, this guy clearly doesn't give two cares about me. It couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I genuinely give all the cares. I mean, maybe if this was 1956, going back to the beginning here, I could have afforded one job and then not have all these other jobs and then just go to these things. Unfortunately, I have this full time job and I have all these other things going on and I have these responsibilities. So it kind of throws it off. So, the sacrifice, I understand the sacrifice, right? I understand the struggle. I've been there, especially with like a lot of my family being in Arizona. Um, I'm almost like that. I feel like a cartoon sometimes. I don't know if you ever feel like that, but when I go and see my nieces and nephews that barely know me, I just become like super fun uncle. Like I feel like I have to
Yeah.
be overly super fun because it's like I'm gonna see you like one time for this entire year, so I need to make it count.
You overcompensate for
I
sure. I do.
overcompensate. I overcompensate, and I'm just like, "Hey guys!" Like, there's pictures of me like wearing wigs, makeup on
Yeah.
my face, doing ridiculous nonsense, and they're like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm gonna see this kid for like 3 days and not see him again for a year or something. Like, let them mark my face. I don't care. Let them scribble. I don't care." Um, Funny story, actually. I during COVID, we got to all work remotely, and I decided for a while to go down to Phoenix because like my mom's there. I have many siblings there, nieces, nephews, etc. So I stayed with a brother of mine for about 2 months, and being with them, it was like I almost felt like I was trapped in a stage play, right? Because I'm there for like I'm not there for like 3 days anymore, or like a day, or a birthday party. I'm there for like 2 months, so I'm always like having to be on. And me being the crazy person I am, I literally like invented a catchphrase, right? And the catchphrase became like the nightmare of all of their parents. And then it turned into I took a picture and turned it into a meme of myself, and then it became stickers, and then I gave everybody stickers of this catchphrase. It's the dumbest catchphrase ever, but it made me. And for people like, what is he talking about? I'll just do the catchphrase. And my sister, Jesus Christ, whoever watches this, my daughter in the other room will cringe. She probably still has the pillow. I turned it into a pillow at one point. And I told my nieces and nephews, is like, anytime your parents do something you don't like, just look them in the face and make like the squeakiest voice you can and be like, why you do that? Right? So like that why you do that thing, right? Became like a dumb thing where like now at every dinner table the kids are like, you didn't pass the beans. Why you do that? And my sister or my mom or whoever is looking at me like, why did you teach these kids these stupid things, Christopher? I'm gonna
Yeah. I laugh at pro wrestlers don't do the exact same thing. Like literally exactly. Put on a persona, create a catchphrase, turn it into merchandise. Like,
Yeah, and it's crazy to say it, but like high school, for lack of a better term, and to keep it in the parlance of our times, high school I just lived the gimmick. Like I just 100% lived the gimmick. I was just what I asked myself, what would Stone Cold Steve Austin be if he went to Tolleson High School in 2002? Okay, go. And I just became that person because the funny thing is, like 1996, I was very much the shy, quiet kid. I was actually voted like in '96, in sixth grade, I was voted the quiet kid in school. So then all of a sudden, I get back into this thing, and 316 becomes a thing, and I just idolize Steve Austin like there's no tomorrow, and he literally reshaped the rest of my life because I became a I didn't I was no longer Christopher Evans, the scared kid who was afraid to say anything. I was Christopher Evans, stone cold wannabe. Stone Cold would never be afraid to say his mind. I remember one time I chewed out a teacher, and it was pretty dumb. Like if I went back in time now and I saw a 14-year-old me chewing out a teacher, I'd want to like smack his face. You know what I mean? I'd be like, "What are you doing, kid? Smack your face, just bam, right?" But this teacher and me got into an argument, and I was trying to do the whole like, you know, the whole Steve Austin gimmick on this guy, and you could just see he was just like, "What are you doing? Like, what is going on here?" Like, so with that being said, do you ever have a problem switching off the character? Like, do you ever, or do you hit those? You go
Mm,
back and you're done.
It's difficult to answer when the character is so implicitly tied in with, even if it is
Right,
it's kind of like at times, where does one end and the other?
right. It's
It's
you
ma
amplified.
Yeah, it's not too hard for me to get back to the other side of the curtain, and maybe it's the context of like, okay, all the lights are down, house lights are back up, things are being torn down, and it's a matter of like, okay, we are not in the realm we once were.
Right, right.
Now you are you, until further.
Be regular Shawn now. Put away the vegan stuff. Do you get? So I've been. I was kind of laughing earlier because you said December. So I've been vegan for almost 12 years, and you talk. You've talked to the reason why I went vegan several times. All right, JJ's the reason why I went vegan. Right, I was just after about a year after. Well, right when she was born, I was having a lot of like medical health issues. Turns out I had celiacs. Right, quick note there. And I started doing DDP yoga. Shout out to DDP yoga. And
Mm.
if anybody hasn't, we have a DDP yoga event this Sunday, the 23rd, at the Worcester. The Worcester. See, I did almost went Bostonian on everybody real quick. At the Worcester. Yeah, I almost did. The Worcester. My mother would be like, just say it right, Christopher. It's the Worcester Bar. Okay. So the Worcester, the Root Awakening Kava Bar in Worcester, Massachusetts. DDP Yoga. We have a certified DDP Yoga instructor. Right, she's going to be teaching things for all wrestling, for all professional wrestlers. Free entry. Anybody else? $30. Sorry, bro. So shameless self plug. But I found DDP Yoga, found a strong community with those guys. I'm still really tight with a lot of those DDP Yoga guys from, I mean, this is 2013, 2012, 2013, which is really back when it was still YRG, right? I have the YRG DVDs is what I have. I don't even have DDP Yoga. I
I
have
did some of
YRG.
the YRG workout.
You're right. That made me like start looking into our food and what we eat. So, and that's when I was like, I want to be here when my daughter graduates high school, when she graduates college, when she gets married, if she gets married and has kids. Like, I want to be here for that. So I changed my diet. I got in super great shape thanks to DDP Yoga. Dropped like 65, 70 pounds in 6 months. It was incredibly over, it took time, it took effort, it took work, but it was 100% worth it for me. People, the funny thing is, I was only supposed to do. Have you ever seen the Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the documentaries?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it's an Australian. He's Australian American essentially, and he comes to America and does a juice cleanse for like 90 days. And I told myself I was going to do just a juice cleanse. So I'll be shameless in saying that I became vegan. I went to do a juice cleanse, and then I actually had a lot of people have negative reactions, and they very much were like, "You're not going to do this. You're not blah 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 blah." And I said, "You know what? I'm just going to be vegan for the rest of my life." Literally, I have been vegan for 12 years out of pure spite because people told me I
Cheers.
couldn't do it. Pure spite, pure, unadulterated spite. I get, I comprehend their criticisms now because previous to that, I worked at the Texas Roadhouse for 10 years. I like to say I forgot more about meat than most people ever learned, right? Because they actually have a real butcher in there and everything, right? But when I did it, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to save the animals. I was like, I want to save myself. And then when people said, you don't have the balls to do it for real, I said, oh, let me show you. Let me show you.
Au contraire,
So for you, like I was, you boldly spake the title vegan. Myself, I've been kind of shying away from it the last couple of years because it becomes the only topic, right? Does it happen for you? Is it just the only topic people bring up? Vegan, vegan, vegan,
it happens
food.
for me, particularly in the wrestling space, where this is my work name, Shawn Vegan Keegan, that's the persona. And on the socials, of course, where maybe the first impression somebody has of me is, oh, okay, friend request from Shawn Vegan Keegan. Okay, it's in his name. uh,
Right.
Fall into being the primary topic of conversation to different degrees when it's brought up. When I'm maybe just meeting somebody, hi, I'm Shawn. At a party or something, like maybe
Yeah.
I'm meeting some new friends. I'm there with some old ones. Hi, I'm Shawn. Nice to meet you. Oh, so what do you do? Oh, what are your hobbies? Oh, you do what? Oh, and what's your work name? Oh, vegan. Are you a vegan for real? Is that a gimmick? Man, get 14 years. It can turn
Right.
into that easily, but to differing degrees. I don't know. Like, I think people are cooler with it than they used to be. More than anything, what I'm hearing these days is you're right, but I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'm hearing that more than I
I
ever
hear
had.
that almost like 90% of the time these days. And it's women for women, just not to be generalizing, but normally women it's like I can't give up cheese. Right? They're like I would be vegan, but I love cheese too much. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't have a pamphlet. I'm not trying to recruit you. That's between you and Jesus. I don't know. That's whatever.
Yeah, I tell them about VO Life cheese, but that's just me.
No, I'm for and then for men, it's always like insert beef product. Oh, I love carne asada.
Yeah,
Oh, I love the
or
ugly
or
steak.
or spam bacon, 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 bacon,
Bacon.
bacon,
Oh
bacon.
god. Yeah, just it grosses me out now. Like meat, like before it was like my favorite. Now it's just like grotesque to me, which is why I wrote that whole movie idea. Because I was just like, what if somebody who had my crazy thoughts on meat were to just be like Elon Musk rich? What would he do? And I was like, all right, this
Yeah,
is this is good. All right, I like it. And maybe I'm the only person that'll ever read it, but it's fine because my brain loves it. But for me, I found it fascinating because I got almost tired of being known as the vegan guy in the office. I got tired of like random people I'd never even met coming up to me in the office going, "So if you're vegan, where do you get your protein? So if you're vegan, where do you get your B12? So
it's
if
a
you're
big
vegan,
eye roll.
oh my god, if you're vegan, how do you get these other amino acids?" Yeah, it's called quinoa, bro. It's really not that big a deal. Like it's really you don't have the
Yeah,
internet. You can just
Abs
Google it. Like
absolute
no,
worst case, it's called dietary supplements.
right? Yeah. I got the. I won't put the label out there, but I got them. They're right here, right?
Hmm.
I got plenty of them. But I found it fascinating when I saw your name for the first time because I've almost like hid from the title of vegan because the burden of the world asking me too many questions. Where I'm just like, stop asking me what I eat every day. Stop asking me where I eat it. Stop asking me weird. I just like listen. Just leave me alone. Go eat what you want as long as you stop asking me questions. Stop
Yeah.
asking me questions. What's that vegan guy? Yeah, but that's hilarious because that's your name now. So do well, I guess what I should be saying is thank you for carrying the mantle for me because I got tired of holding it. I got tired of holding it. Thank you, Shawn. You hold the mantle and passing it over. Um, because I'll eat the food all day, but I can't ask one more person who asks me, do your poop smell funny? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just like, why are you asking me this? I'm a stranger. What are you doing?
Keep in mind, I've heard it
Oh,
since
I'm
I was
sure.
15
I'm
because
sure.
that's when I decided to be a vegan. I've heard literally all of it. So it's like, mm, you're hardly ever going to throw me a curveball that's going to be like, oh, I never thought I would be asked this. I'm not prepared. Well,
Right.
for this conversation, like I've heard so much.
Right.
And it's easier to gauge now too who's genuinely interested and who's just trying to have a gotcha moment.
Right. Well, that was that you ate gelato, you know, or um yeah, no, I've definitely tried to get away from those pranksters like, yeah, joke's on you. They have vegan everything now, guys. Doesn't matter what exists on earth, there's a vegan version of it now. Like and
Pretty
it's
much it.
pretty much everything and I have to eat gluten free or I will literally die. So it's funny because I'll be like, oh yeah, I have to always like caveat my words because I'll be like, yeah, I went to this place the other day and I tried their cheeseburger for this time. It was delicious. And like, oh, you had a regular cheeseburger with gluten and meat and everything? And I'm like, no, because I would probably be hospitalized at this point. Like, I'm sorry.
Where in the word cheeseburger is gluten?
Right, I know. So it's like, no, I always be like, I had a vegan gluten free pizza and a vegan gluten free cheeseburger. There's so many places to eat it now. Shout out
Yeah,
to
guess.
Tavern in the
Yeah.
Square. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Tavern
Tavern
in
in
the
the
Square.
Square, easy. Red Heat Tavern, Burton's Grill, Life Alive.
Love me
Um,
some life.
I love Life Alive. I had the one in Boston on Wednesday night before we went into see AEW. Shout out to my special friends who gave me tickets. I know they said they didn't tell me not to say names, but I don't want to say names. But special friends who may or may not work for AEW who gave me special tickets. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thanks,
Um,
special.
thanks, special friends. So, um, yeah, Life Alive is delicious. There's one in Burlington. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me that I go to. There's a there's Deshawn Bakery in Manchester. They sometimes have vegan stuff.
I'm in Manchester, so
Yeah, check out
I'll have to
Deshawn
check.
Evan. Big shout out to Evan. He's the guy who runs that place. Super awesome guy. Not all the things are always vegan that he makes specifically, but he does have normally a very good source of vegan items. He'll make sure to tell you what's vegan or not, and then he also has a cooler that is items that are created by local bakers who may not be able to afford their own bakery. So he is nice enough to like house their almost competitive his competitors' food in his place, in his actual bakery, so that they can have a place to sell their stuff and plenty of vegan stuff in there. And then he has a little like dried goods section that has like mixes and stuff, and it's always changing, and there's always good stuff. I could literally I'm just you know what I'm gonna do I have your email. I'm just gonna make a list of stuff and just send it out, zip it on over. So people are like, oh, these guys in there
Might
vegan.
as well.
I'm like, okay. I don't want to these, but I don't know. There's just something about it that Did you? So what compelled you at such a young age to go vegan? I guess is the question.
Well, my last name was already Keegan, so it rhymed. Uh,
Yeah,
no. Uh,
absolutely.
as one does, I began to see those documentaries. We talked about Fat Second Nearly earlier. I remember seeing From Farm to, and I remember seeing Forks Over Knives, for
There you go. I
example.
got the cookbook, baby.
Uh,
Yep.
and the more I saw and was frankly rather horrified with the treatment that factory farmed animals are subject, I also began to learn about the individual health benefits of taking on an entirely plant-based diet. That is, you got to keep a balance between your plant-based protein sources, grains, fruits, and vegetables, and minerals, of course, minerals. Uh, the more I learned, I also began to learn about the environmental implications. Say, if we use the land devoted to animal agriculture, plant agriculture, we'd be making better use of the resources at our disposal. We'd be producing pollution overall. We could get into exactitudes, but I think that might take another 2 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
We could literally just come back
yeah,
into a vegan podcast, to be honest. Might be fun.
the it might be, but the more it began to be not a question, why would I take this on, but why wouldn't?
All right. No, I that honestly similar. Forks over knives. Watching the all the stuff and then getting the book, and it was at the same time I saw the Fat Sick and Nearly Dead, and I feel like there was just a lot of documentaries about it at that particular time. Like in that, it was like a 2 or 3 year time span where everybody's just like, eat more plants.
Yeah, in the early 2010s.
Yeah, in the early 2010s, there was just like a cornucopia, all right, of plant based. I try to do the puns once in a while. I do the puns pretty good for your when I put you on Instagram and stuff. But the cornucopia of plant-based documentaries was, you know, overwhelming, and it's hard to miss. And I always found it funny when like I watch with somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a good idea," and then they do it for like a day. They do it for
Whoa.
like a day or a week or something, and then I can't say that I'm proud of any of my friends who now do like a meatless Monday, um, or it. I appreciate your attempts. You in my opinion, as much as it'd be nice if they switched over, I'd rather have someone try their best than to never do it at all. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh,
At least it's one day where they're doing it and they'll text me the picture. I'll never forget a couple of my I don't want to say names because then it'll be on the record forever, but a couple of people in my family were kind of harsh on me when I went vegan. And I'll never forget, like, I don't know, maybe about 4 years later, they started finally coming around to it. And I remember the first time this person took a picture of the um, the salad dressing they made. So, because I like to make my own salad dressings to make sure it's not messed with or whatever. Um, they actually got a NutriBullet and made their own salad dressing, and they were just so proud of themselves. And I was like, hey man, good for you, man. Today you chose a salad. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like,
precisely.
you know what I mean? It's like once again, maybe we should do a vegan podcast. I don't know.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say this is the type of stuff I could talk about for days,
Yeah.
probably.
My one thing that I always talk to people, and this is the only thing I really sell these days. And I said this before COVID, by the way. So I always make sure to caveat that because when I brought up this hypothetical question, I didn't think it was going to be possible. But I would ask people, I want you to think of your diet. Genuinely think of your diet. I want you to think of all the most flavorful, whatever things that you eat, yada, yada, yada. Okay? Think about it, imagine it in your head, okay? And then answer the question, would you eat that tomorrow if you couldn't taste it? And if the answer is no, there's probably a good reason. Probably a good reason. So that's the only real vegan thing I say these days that I point out. I'm like, listen, if you only eat that because of what? What if you couldn't taste it? And don't give me that. There's always one person in the back going, "What about the texture?" Oh, stop. Give me a break. Nobody, because I know plenty. I know a couple of people that got sick with COVID, and all of a sudden they stopped eating chicken. And I was like,
Mm, mm,
I wonder
mm.
why. I wonder why. Why did you have that soup today instead? In your face. So it's that's where I go with that. So, um, man, we 4 hours probably should hit the one and done and let you go. But so my final question for you, right? My final question is, and especially going into this holiday season, are you conscientiously aware, and do you have a plan to take care of yourself while you're going to be working a lot, go buy tickets this holiday season? Are you going to try to be proactive at all?
That reminds me of something that occurred to me the other day. I'm not sure why I arrived at this conclusion necessarily, but I recognize that this is a difficult time for a lot of turbulent people, may be losing benefits, their bottom line, and frankly, their ability to survive may be affected by any number,
Right,
ability to express themselves authentically.
of course.
Uh, I decided that at least in I'm going to put no pressure on myself whatsoever for anything holiday related. I will literally forget and prepare dishes and do what needs to be only to the extent that I can and am willing and have the bandwidth for, have deep enough pockets for. I'm not going to pretend I can live up to some perfect the holiday standard. Like I'm not even going to have thought, I'm not even going to have this preconceived notion. I decided actively, and we'll see if I can stick to shed this notion that it's like, okay, but this time of year is different for some reason. Um, just not gonna, just gonna do my best, and my best will be good enough, and that's point blank.
Perfect. Don't overextend yourself. Don't try to live up to some kind of pre-existing ill-conceived notion of everything has to be better and why am I not good enough? It's a dirty, disgusting trap that everyone falls into. I'm just as guilty. I've been sitting here thinking this is actually the first Thanksgiving in I don't know how many years JJ's going to be with her mom instead of me. And my brain's just like, what am I doing? My life is lost. I don't have JJ. What am I? You know what I mean? So I've had to kind of rein myself in over the past couple of days. Like, okay, man, it's all right. You can have a holiday. She doesn't always have to be. She can have other adventures, right? You do other things. It's a kind of a positive reinforcement. So it's great to hear that you have that here. November 21st, just days away from Thanksgiving, right? It's not too far off. It's not it's not tomorrow, but it's not too far off. Okay, and
Six
then
days.
right, and it's just like what? Right? Me doing a lot of video editing in Thursday. That's what the conclusion I came up with. JJ's not here. All right, I have like 75 videos to edit. Let's get to work, bro. So. Um, it's great to hear that you are conscientiously aware of that, and hopefully there are other people who can hear this and see it and be like, hey man, there's nothing wrong with taking a step back once in a while. You don't have to be perfect all the time. It's not physically possible anyways, guys. Just so you know, it's not possible to be perfect. because technically perfect doesn't exist. It's a construct. It's almost like time. Time doesn't exist. It's relative. So tomorrow, it never shows up. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
So don't strive for perfection and beat your head against a wall when you fall. Other people are gonna look like you're the new kid in Arizona trying to explain daylight.
Right. I'll never forget that day. It took me like 3 years to live down that day. I had to finally go find it on the internet, print it out, and bring it to them. I told you this exists somewhere. This kid's crazy. Why would we touch the clock? Doesn't make any sense. What a lunatic this guy.
It's more surprising to me that none of them knew it even existed.
Yeah, well, they grew up in a state that never does it, right? I mean, some of the Native American communities, they have their own, it parts. Yeah, they do it, but the state of Arizona doesn't at all. So it was wild. Luckily for me, there was a couple of teachers from New York. Miss Hoff, I just remember her name. I can't believe I remember her name. That's incredible for me. Miss Hoff was like, she was from Long Island, and she was like, yeah, it's a thing, kid. Don't worry about it. And I was like, see, I told you guys, but they didn't believe me. They're like, the teacher's just making it up because she likes you. And I was like, all right, whatever. So then I remember going on like some internet website and printing it out and just like shove it in their face when we were finally allowed to print. Like I told you it was a different thing, you guys. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't understand why we have it at all. To be fair, because I
Yeah.
had to try to explain to them why we have it, and they're like, that makes no sense. It's dumb. And I was like, well, I don't know. This is just what you know what I mean. 30 years later, I still can't defend it. I'm like, yeah, we probably should get rid of it, but it's ridiculous. What do you want me to do? I'm no Superman. All right, we turned it back around. Right. All right. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for coming on both of these shows today. We genuinely appreciate you, respect you. Thank you for holding the vegan title because I got tired of carrying that heavy thing all the time. I just got tired of it. Got tired of it. But I wear
I
your
forget
shirt
it's there.
all the shows. I sure. I went to TNA. I was wearing your shirt. Actually, went to TNA. I was wearing your shirt in Lowell. Wear your shirt all the time, man. Vegans, we gotta be on the same team, man. So once again, I appreciate you so much, sir. And this will be on the internet everywhere immediately. And I'm assuming Sunday I'll be able to chop it up and put clips and pieces on Instagram and other places. Be ready to be tagged by this handsome devil for 40, guys. Handsome devil for 40. All right. My
Handsome
daughter
devil
calls
for
me old. Because I'm a vegan, so that's why my skin's better than yours. Ha 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 ha.
just saying.
Just saying. Come to the tribe, hoser. We'll let you in. We will show you the way. We got the meatless martyr here. The plant-based prophets, baby. We will sort you out. All right. I feel like I plugged your tickets and stuff. I can't think of other things I should plug for you. Shawn Vegan Keegan, find him everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, yada yada yada. JJ says goodbye as well. Do you want to hop back in? She's been staring at me for a few seconds here. But there's Shawn the monkey. Shawn the monkey says hi to Shawn the Vegan Keegan. Don't worry, he doesn't eat meat anyways. I'm just kidding. All right, well, thank you so much, Shawn. We appreciate you so much, and you have yourself a good day, sir.
Bye.
Thank you too for having me.
A good day.
Be good, be well, and be.
And go vegan!